All right. Good morning, everyone. We are going to start in a moment. I'm seeing a lot of people are introducing themselves. Let me also introduce myself. My name is Sudhanshu, and you can see my name here on the top here. And I'll be your host for this entire course duration, all through all the weekends. And I bring around 14 years of total experience. And right now I'm working as a consultant and I run my own company, consultancy company. Um, some rules for this session. I want all of you to participate as closely as possible. Feel free to ask me questions in the chat. Due to rules, we won't allow you to speak, but you can definitely ask me questions and interrupt me. I'll try to answer all of them. And yeah, so let's get started. And I'll start recording this session.
Recording in progress.
All of you can hear me, right? Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah. Okay. So we have sufficient number of participants joined in already. I'll start. Okay. So this class, the agenda is to get you up and running with the whole course. The first step will be AZ 900 training, and then we'll go to AZ 104, and at the last of this course, we'll go to AZ 400 training. So we'll begin with the fundamentals, AZ 900. If you haven't enrolled yourself yet, you can go to scholarhead.com, go to free courses, or if you have already enrolled in the Azure Cloud DevOps track, so you will also get the free course content along with it. So go to free courses, scroll little bottom, and you'll see Azure Fundamentals AZ 900 training material. Click on get started for free. If you're already logged in, if you haven't logged in, please log in using your credentials. You can log in using Facebook and Gmail. uh, I'm logged in using Gmail, and click on the access now button for this course. So the moment you click on access now, you'll see the free course appearing here. So if I go to my dashboard, this is how my dashboard look like. And in this dashboard, go to my courses. Because it's a free course right now, AZ 900, it won't appear under all courses. Instead, it will appear under the free courses. In case you have already paid for the paid program, it will appear here under all courses. So I'll go to free courses, Azure Fundamentals Course Beginners, Access Now. And here we have several sections. The video section, the quick notes, hands-on lab, and these are for the later when you already finish video and all the labs. You can check out the interview question and answers, and you'll get your certificate as well. Let's look at the hands-on labs because that's what most people are here for, to get the hands-on experience. So we have couple of labs that we will go through together today and the upcoming sessions. We'll cover as much as possible in the next 1.5 hour or 2 hours. I'll try to keep some time reserved for question and answers today. We have labs like creating resource group, Windows machine, Linux, virtual networks, storage, SQL database, web app, Key Vault, and the pricing calculator and the total cost of ownership. These are the basic labs, and all of these you should be aware of before you appear in the AZ 900 certification exam. The video course here is for you to go at your self pace. So if you click on start, it will provide you the recorded session, and it is like several hours long. So you can go to these video courses at your convenience. We also have notes for all the different concepts that I'll cover here today. For example, if you click on Azure Concepts, click on Start, you will see uh, the basic theoretical concepts. All of these things that I will discuss, and you should definitely go through all of them, because in 2 hours it's not possible for me to cover theory as well as the hands-on. I'll focus mostly on hands-on because to keep this session engaging and interesting. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Is the overall approach clear to all of you? How you want to approach this AZ900 certificate? You have to go through the video course, the notes on your own. I will present you some hands-on sessions today. Plus, I'll give you some overview of the basic theoretical concepts so that you can pick up the hands-on topics. Okay. So all of you are saying yes. Cool. Um, so we have already people who are in the IT industry or the related roles already. So you should be able to make sense out of it. Okay. My today's agenda is to show you creating a resource group, creating a Windows virtual machine, and in that virtual machine, additionally, I'll go and configure a web server. I'll explain what a web server is. So that's my agenda. Resource group, Windows machine, and configuring a web server. If the time permits, we will also create a Linux machine and configure another web server in this Linux machine. That's my agenda for today. Does that sounds good? All right. So let's quickly go and catch up some basic concepts about Azure. Uh, so if you haven't signed up for a free account yet, please do so. The Azure free account is totally free for signing up, but you need a credit card. And with that free sign up, you get $200 credit in your account free, and those are valid for the first 30 days. However, certain services are free for the first 12 months for a limited usage only. I'll explain what that means, but you should definitely go and sign up using your credit card. And yeah, let's go on. So all of
Hello,
this you can for
hello, sir. Good
yourselves,
morning.
the basic introductory part. I'll start with the Azure related stuff. Yeah, Azure physical infrastructure related stuff today. So here, uh, Azure Cloud is built on global data centers. So what they have done is created a lot of data centers across the globe. They group data centers into something called as availability zone. They group availability zones further
Hello, Sudhanshu,
to
sir.
call them as
Good morning.
regions.
Hello, sir.
So we don't actually access to individual data centers. Instead, we access availability zones and regions. A region has availability zone. Availability zone has data centers. Okay, so this diagram here shows uh, an idea like how many regions they have. Azure has more than 60 plus regions. Um, and we have a lot of availability zones. There is no fixed rule that a given region will have how many zones. Roughly, it has 2 to 6 zones in a region, and each zone can have 2 to 3 data centers. That's how it is. But there's no fixed formula for this. You can see I'm currently based out of India. So in India itself, if you can see this slide, so we have 3 regions: West India, Central India, and South India. These are 3 regions. In each region, we'll have zones. In each zone, we'll have data centers. Okay. So this is the definition that I already told you. Uh, I'll take a pause. There is a question from Deepak asking training not related to DevOps only, AZ900. I didn't really get the question. The current training I am giving to you
Hello,
is
sir.
related to AZ 900.
Hello, sir. Good morning. I am audible.
Please rephrase your question. What's your question? This
Am,
training is about AZ 900. There is a question from Shailendra. He's asking, is it free for 12 months? Uh, the free account that you sign up today, it's not actually free. For the first 30 days, it is definitely free. So let me go back and show you the clause. Azure uh, free account. So if you go here, scroll down, these are the conditions. So as soon as you register for a free account, you get $200 credits. Okay, and these credits, can I take a call from Scholarhead?
hello. Maybe, sir. Okay. Hello. 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 Hello, sir. Am I audible? Sudhanshu, sir. Deepak, could you hear me? Uh, Please, anyone confirm if you can hear me? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, people have some questions regarding, this training. So, this is a training of Azure Cloud DevOps. So, we are going to start with Azure fundamental. So just see, this training is all about combination of three trainings, Azure fundamental. So we are starting today with AG 900. So we will go like we have a day-wise agenda, like what we are going to cover on a particular dates. So already mentioned in the PDF. So you can refer that, but everything we are going to cover in detail by doing hands-on so that you can clear your three certification and become job ready. So sir, you can, go ahead. If anyone have question, you can unmute and ask.
So today's session is completely is it 900 fundamental related? Okay.
Yes, we are starting with AG 900, Azure fundamental. So we will go by once, we will create the cloud foundation and we will proceed further. So today we are discussing about the, fundamental. So we will build your foundation, then we can proceed further. Sudhanshu sir, this is to you.
Yeah, like Girdhar sir said, The whole curriculum is split into three parts. We have to finish AZ 900 before we jump on to AZ 104. Certain participants might already be familiar with the concepts taught in AZ 900. They can feel free to skip. But given the diversity of participants, we cannot jump directly straight over to AZ 104. You need to, every student in this program needs to understand all the basic fundamentals, the one that I just showed you. You need to be well familiar with creating all these hands-on exercises. If you think you already have, you can skip those sessions. Not just today. I'll continue with these hands-on labs even the subsequent weekends. So please refer to your detailed plan that you have got. If you want to come straight over to AZ 104, you can join those classes. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll start. So I was explaining what is a region, data centers, and the availability zone. Now, this is how availability zone look like. For example, this rectangle box is one region. It has multiple availability zone. There can be 2 to 6 availability zone that I have seen in Azure, and each zone has multiple data centers. Um, so I'm skipping the theory just to save us some time for practice. Okay. Second important thing is regions are not 100% isolated. Your resources will be isolated, though they can communicate to other resources in different regions. That means regions are paired. So you can create a server in one region and create, let's suppose, a database in another region, or a fallback or a backup in another region, so that your server can still communicate with resources in another region. There are certain rules, like regions should be at least a physical distance of 300 miles apart. Um, okay, so these are the basic concepts. Why 300 miles apart? Because it ensures if any natural disaster happens in one region, it should not affect the next closest region. And if one region fails, services will fall back to another region by default. And in certain cases, you have to configure them to fall back to the backup region. Now, this is how the pairing would look like. Uh, so, what are sovereign regions? So, sovereign regions are like dedicated regions for government and other agencies who don't want to have shared resources with public. So for US government alone, they have dedicated regions. Uh, so these are the dedicated regions for US government, sovereign regions, US DoD Central, US government Virginia, and US government Iowa. China also, Azure also have sovereign regions in China. And okay, but Microsoft does not maintain data centers in those regions in China. Now, the Azure resource hierarchy. So first of all, at the top of the hierarchy, let's go from bottom to up. Suppose you want to create a server. This is an icon representing a server. That would be a resource in general. A resource, any resource in Azure must be part of a resource group. A resource group is a logical grouping, uh, just a collection of resources. Now, every resource group itself should be a part of subscription, and a subscription should be a part of management group. What you are billed for is actually a subscription. You get invoices from Azure for all of your subscription individually. So you can have multiple subscription for different purposes. For example, in real world environment, we have one subscription or more one or more subscriptions for dev test. Similarly, dedicated subscriptions for staging, and similarly for production environments. uh, Bigger enterprises goes even beyond. They have different management groups altogether for production, production workload. Today we'll see how to create a resource group. We'll create a virtual machine in this resource group. Subscription I already have, the one that comes with initial registration, the pay as you go subscription. So Microsoft offers different kind of payment models. Like for general public, they offer pay as you go. For enterprises, they have different payment plans. And similarly, if you are confident you want to utilize certain resources for a longer term, let's say 1 to 3 years, then they have a separate subscription and payment plans as well. Sailesh is asking, today's 2 hour is AZ900. I guess that confusion is clear. Not just today, even few more weeks from now, uh, we will dedicate the time for AZ900 labs. Only after AZ900 labs are finished, I mean, these labs are finished, we'll jump on to AZ104. Okay, so management group is like highest level of governance. This I have already explained. Subscription I have explained. Yeah, this also I just told you. Usually, small companies have a single Azure account or more Azure accounts, and they distinguish between dev, test, and production by subscriptions, so that resources don't get mixed up. Resource group, I explained, it's just a logical grouping of resources. Um, I'm skipping through. You can definitely read through that. Now, managing resources can happen in multiple ways. So this diagram here is a good diagram. It is telling you uh, how you can create any given resource. So let's suppose you want to create a virtual machine, a server. Internally, an application, or you can say a service, is responsible for creating any of the resources. That service is called ARM, Azure Resource Manager Service. Now, this service can be invoked in multiple ways. Yeah, this service can be invoked in multiple ways. You can invoke this Azure Resource Manager service via Azure portal. For example, you go to the Azure portal the way I am right now. So any action that I perform internally will access this service, Azure Resource Manager, and help me create the resources that I want. So that's one way. Another way to create resource is Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI. You can also use SDKs. If you're a programmer, you can use SDKs. SDK stands for Software Development Kit. For example, if you're not a programmer, just giving an example. For example, if you are a programmer and want to create resources via your language of choice, you are a .NET developer, you can write program in .NET, and that program will use Azure SDKs, the libraries, and you can with that SDK you can create any resource of your choice. Does that make sense? And the last one is REST APIs. From any platform, you can invoke REST API endpoints for these services. And regardless of which method you choose, all of them will go to Azure Resource Manager. Azure Resource Manager will first authenticate uh, your request. If you are an authenticated user and permitted to create the resource, it will go and create the resource for you. Any questions for this? There is a question from Saurabh. Does Azure offers Kubernetes service? Yes, it offers a Kubernetes service. The service is called Azure AKS. So if you go to Azure portal, search for AKS, you'll get uh, Azure Kubernetes service here. So we are still a few weeks before we go and create Azure Kubernetes resources here. Okay. Now, resource manager, I explained what's the role of the resource manager, enabling, creating, and updating the resources, simple access control. There is a lot more management stuff goes inside the Azure Resource Manager, so that also it takes care of. Okay, that's the basic introduction. Let's jump on to the Azure portal, and let me try following this thing. So the first lab is creating a resource group using tags, then create Windows virtual machine. Can you tell me how many of you have an Azure account already before coming to this lecture? That will give me an idea like how deep should I go in any step. Please write in your responses in the chat box. Yeah. Nirav have an Azure account. Vivek Singh, Deepak. Mohammad Hafizuddin doesn't have an Azure account. Faz has it. So there are a mix of peoples, right? Sundravalli doesn't have it. Bhagwati doesn't have it. Sirin has it though. Okay, so we have a mix of people who have or have doesn't have don't have this Azure account. So those who are familiar, bear with me. Those who are not familiar, please do not hesitate to ask questions. Like I showed earlier, let me open that slide again. First, we are going to create a resource group, and in that resource group, we'll go and create a resource. Why starting from a resource group? Because I already have a subscription and a management group. So I'm in the Azure portal. You can search for resource group, and there you'll see there's some resource group already. You can ignore them. I'll go and create a new one. And I'll also show you that I already have a subscription. Before you take any actions, you need to have a subscription with you. The moment you enroll the moment you enroll in the free account, you will get a default subscription and it will be named as pay as you go. Why it is named like this? It means you need to pay as you consume the resources, like for how much time you consume Azure resources. Only for that duration you have to pay to Azure. That's what it means. And the pricing is different for pay as you go versus like companies have enterprise subscriptions, so their pricing is different. Given that I already have a subscription, I'll straight away jump onto a resource group and try to create one. So I clicked on create a resource group. It is asking me, so every resource that you create in Azure will definitely ask you two things. Every resource. One thing it will ask which subscription the resource should belong to and which resource group it should belong. So that's why these two are kind of mandatory for every resource. I have chosen a name, Scholarhead Resource Group. Region, you can choose any region of your choice from where you are. There is no restriction that you have to choose a region closer to you, but you can click on the drop down to see what are the different regions available. Feel free to be creative. You can choose any region of your choice. Since I'm in India, I'll choose, uh, let's suppose, India. Remember in the diagram I showed you, we have three regions in India. If I go back, this slide, uh, I showed you in this slide that we have three regions in India, South, Central, and West, three regions. So those three regions appear here, South, Central, and West region. I'm gonna pick Central region. That's fine. Click next. Now tags. Tags are just labels, or just like you attach tags to your baggage when you go to airport. So these are kind of similar tags. And tags are in the form of key and value. So you can provide any key. For example, my project currently is, let's suppose I'm learning for az-900. So I'll write az-900. So this becomes one tag. Later on, I can create more and more tags and attach to it. So what it helps with is, let's suppose you create 10,000 resources, and you want to know out of those 10,000 resources, how many of them have a given tag. So you can filter resources by tag easily. That's the purpose. Click next, review and create. It's a simple resource. Click on create and it should be done in few seconds. Resource group got created. So all the actions that I performed are basically invoking Azure Resource Manager APIs, the one that I explained in this diagram. And which method did I use here? I use the Azure portal to invoke Azure Resource Manager APIs. Does that make sense? Saurav is asking, what is a management group? Management group consists of, it's the highest level of like organization or governance in Azure. So let me show you. When you sign up for Azure, you get a default management group. So I'll search for management group. And in most cases, it gives a default name as well. For some reason, it's not loading up. Um yeah, when you enroll for the first time with your free account, you get a default management group and a default subscription. The management group, the default management group name will be something like default directory or something. And within that management group, you can create more and more subscriptions as you like. So it's just a layer of organization for you. And why this layer is important, I'll give you one example in this diagram. Let's suppose you have two subscriptions, okay, and you are collaborating with some third party application who wants to scan your subscriptions for certain compliance rules or controls. That's the purpose. So there are two ways in this scenario to give the third party access to your subscription. One, you can give access to the subscription one as well as subscription two individually or separately. So you'll create some identities or secrets or certificates here. You'll also create them here. So that's one way. Second way is, instead of giving that third party application access to individual subscription, you can give it as access to the entire management group, so that everything that comes under a management group will become accessible to that third party. So that's the idea and like high level scenario. Serene says, I have a limited Azure account. I can't follow your work. I just will follow what you're doing, but later can I get the recording? You don't need the recording actually. But perhaps you'll get the recording, but like I showed you here, you have everything what you need. In fact, everything that I'm telling you today as well in your Scholar Hat portal. So you can go to Scholar Hat, Hands-on Lab, create resource group. So you click on start and you will get go to lab solution and you'll see everything that I'm doing in theoretical and detailed steps here. Okay, yeah. Coming back to our portal. So what we just did was we created a resource group. So in our resource group, we see we have Scholar Hat resource group created just today. Okay, what is the next step? The next step will be, as per this diagram, we have a resource group ready. It's blank right now. Now we are going to create a resource in it. By resource, I mean one virtual machine, a server in it. Sirin is asking, can you make AI ML tutorial like this? Yeah, we have AI ML track also. There also you have AI ML tutorials and detailed hands-on labs. How can we have Scholar Hat hands-on lab access? I think I showed you, Shailesh. If you are a paid learner, you will get that under my course. Go to my course and you will see all your paid programs here. And just for today, I don't have that access yet, but I'm using the free course, Azure Fundamentals course for beginners, and this is the same content in as part of your DevOps training. So you'll click on access now and you'll get the hands-on. For probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we will go with these basic fundamentals before we jump onto the AZ-104. And you can see a lot of candidates do not even have the required experience with Azure before they can jump to AZ-104. All right, so let's go back. Now it's the time for creating a virtual machine. So please be careful and ask me questions. What are we doing? We are going to create a Windows server virtual machine. And that server, later once the server is created, we'll log into the server and and enable the IIS web server. Do you know what is IIS? So we have couple of web servers available. One from Microsoft is called IIS Web Server. This is usually installed in Windows machines, and that is what we are going to install and configure. There are many more web servers available in the market. For example, Apache web server, there are many more web servers available. So this is mainly used if you are creating and deploying web-based applications. So it definitely requires a web server. So here comes an interesting and a common question that you may be asked in interviews. So what's the difference between a web server versus application server? Okay, so let me tell you, when you develop an application, let's suppose you're developing in any language of your choice, PHP, .NET, React, or anything. So you're developing that application, it requires a server for application to run either locally or on a real server, right? So that's an application server. To make that application available to the internet audience, you will need a web server. So that's the difference. So web server is at a higher level. A web server can serve multiple application servers. That's an analogy you can use. So today we are going to create a Windows machine, and in that virtual Windows machine, we'll configure IIS web server, and that should be easy. You will see. So click on create Azure virtual machine. So creating a machine is a several step process. You need to understand each step, at least certain fields in detail, so you can take the right action. We'll start from basics. Subscription, I have only one subscription in my Azure account, pay as you go. Resource group, I don't want to create a new resource group. Instead, I'll choose the one that we just created, Scholar Hat RG. If you haven't created one already, you can still click on this create new button and provide a name. It will go on and directly create a resource group. So and like I said earlier, every resource you create in Azure must have a subscription and a resource group within which it will fall. Is that clear? One second, I'll take a sip of water. Next is give your virtual machine a name. For example, I'm going to give it Windows Server. I think I'll go with Windows Server 22. That should be fine, or you can just leave it blank. And this region is automatically picked up based on the resource group that you created. So my resource group was created in Central India, so it is choosing the same region. Prefer to use the same region as the resource group, although it's not mandatory. You can still create resources in a different region, and your resource group can be a different region. Why it is possible? Because I said resource group is just a logical grouping. It's not actually anything um, physical, right? Okay. Availability zone. What's an availability zone? Availability zone. I said a region can have multiple AZs, right? And this is asking me what is the redundancy I want. So do I want my disk or this VM to be redundant? Not just the disk, the entire VM and the machine to be redundant. So either I can choose no redundancy required, or I can choose the desired availability zones in which the machine will be kind of duplicated. And why people require this redundancy at all in the first place is to ensure high availability. So what is high availability? Uh, so if you see Azure high availability for VMs. So high availability means like for how much time your service is available to the end user. So high availability usually means like 99.99% uptime. So for the entire lifetime of that service, it will be up and running for 99.99%. This is just an example. The actual value depends on whether it is 99.99, whether it is 98, or whether it is whatever value it is. It depends on what action you take here. So if you take no infrastructure redundancy, then there is no promise. If you take redundant architecture, then there is certain promise. And what exactly is the value? It is mentioned in the Microsoft docs. Now, if I choose availability option as the redundancy, now it is saying I can choose up to 3 availability zones, and it will create 1 VM per zone. So I can choose 3 availability zones, up to 3. So that's one option to have high availability. That's how it ensures. For this demo purpose, I don't want high availability, so I'm going to choose no infrastructure redundancy required. Okay, Serene is asking how can I get Azure AI ML and Gen AI engineer certification training program? Serene, there is AI ML track separately on Scholar Hat portal. If you go to Scholar Hat, we have a separate track, so you can go and register in this track if that's of your choice. The current track that I am teaching is Cloud DevOps and this track, Basic Fundamentals, AZ-104 and AZ-400. That's a difference. Okay. Now, the most important part is image. So what is an image? Image is a template which defines what operating system will be installed in the machine. And that operating system comes with some security patches and updates. For example, we have a lot of images available from Azure. So if you click on this thing, you will see because I was certain I wanted to deploy a Windows machine. So I'll search for Windows, and you can see how many variations I have. I have Windows Server 2022, 2019, 2016, Windows 11, Windows 10, and so on. You can pick anyone that suits your needs. Yeah, like Windows Server 22 itself has two variations. And what's the difference? This is the default Cross 86 Gen 2 machine, and this one is slightly patched version. So it will have even more latest security patches applied. So that's the difference. Let's go with the default one, Windows Server 22 Data Center Edition. Now here, architecture. So architecture is what is the underlying operating system and the machine architecture. Not the operating system, actually the machine architecture. So this depends on the machine type. For example, if you may have heard, the Mac machines usually have ARM architectures these days because they come with silicon chips M1, M2, M3, M4, whereas conventional Intel processor based machines have cross 64 architecture. By the way, Windows cannot run with ARM. That's why it says ARM is not supported. I'll quickly show you. My current machine is a Mac with a silicon chip, so that's why it says ARM64. So ARM64 is not compatible with Windows. That's why it says ARM64 not required, not supported. So Saurav has a good question. He is asking, I'm going to create a VM in one of the regions in India. Yes, I'm going to create that in central India. Okay. Let's say some natural disaster happens in the central India. Yes, it can happen. So I created three VMs. But if the entire central India is affected due to natural disaster, all my VMs are going to go away. Okay. So there is no like safety in that case. So in that case, what we do is we do something like availability set. So it create VMs across multiple fault domains. Fault domains is like if one availability goes down, the second availability comes as a backup immediately, comes into action. Um, so this is like across regions. And if within a region you want high availability, you can have virtual machine scale sets. Okay. So where were we? We were picking the image. So we picked an image, Windows Server 2022, data center edition, the default one. It is going to be installed in a cross 64 machine architecture. Now the size, uh, spot discount is like you can think of, let's suppose there are huge servers in data centers. They are almost full with a lot of virtual machines from different customers. However, there is a slot available for one or two more machines, the last few slots available in that huge server. So you can get that last slot at a discounted rate. But the thing is, there is no guarantee for uptime. So this one gets the least availability, or like least. This is not recommended for, this option is not recommended for production applications or production servers. I don't want a spot discount, or let it be. uh, the size. The size is what is the RAM, what is the memory, and what is the network bandwidth you will get with your machine. So you can pick any size of your choice. So you can click on all the sizes. So we have a lot of sizes in available from Azure. Um, and here is a good example of organization policy. So my current organization, like Azure organization, has blocked certain sizes. How do we block it? We'll learn later. But the organization administrator can block certain sizes to ensure that members in this Azure organization do not create machines of restricted sizes or very higher sizes. So what I have allowed right now is general purpose B series machines. So anybody can create like these machines. These are allowed right now in my current Azure organization. I'm going to create B2S, which comes with two CPUs, 4 GB RAM. It can have up to 4 data disk, and this is the input output processing speed, IOPS. Okay. I'll pick B2S, select, and it got selected. So the moment you select something, the cost will vary automatically. So there, here is a tentative cost. This one comes at like 3,200 INR local currency per month. Okay, so this is fine. You can disregard this message. I think this should go away. It says, I have a policy in place to deny creating VMs of sizes other than these ones. So these are allowed: B1MS, B1S, B2S. So which one we chose? We chose B2S. So B2S is allowed. So this warning is just a warning. It won't affect our deployment. Next is hibernation. You know what is hibernation. If you don't know, it is like saving the state of a computer. Next is administrator account. You need to create an administrator account in this machine. So I'm going to use something like Azure user and give it a password. Okay. I gave a password. Let me write it here so I don't forget. Okay. Inbound ports, because we are creating a Windows machine and we plan to connect to it via RDP, remote desktop protocol, and RDP protocol operates on port 3389. That's why we are selecting this port to keep it open. We can additionally open other ports like 80 or 443, because I also plan to install IIS server, the web server, and web server usually operates on by default port 80 and 443 only. Next is disks. Um, so here it says to to select and configure the disk that we want. So disk is just like your hard disk in your local computer. So we choose the default size. A Windows data center requires at least 128 GBs. So it comes with default 127. This is actually 127 point something. OS disk size, disk type. So Microsoft offers certain disk types such as premium SSD, standard SSD, standard HDD. And these three are within the locally redundant category. If you don't know what is locally redundant versus zone redundant versus geo redundant, so it's an important concept to know. Let me show you what that means. LRS, VRS, and that thing. Locally redundant, or LRS, the one that we just saw here, LRS, ZRS, or there is one more, zone redundant, which is not appearing here. So there are three ways of making copies of your disk in the storage account. Storage means it's a service from Azure where you can create storage objects. Like it could be any object, it could be files, it could be objects, binary large objects, or anything. So any storage objects that you create, you have three types of redundancies that you can choose from: LRS, locally redundant, zone redundant, and geo redundant. Three options that you have. In LRS, Azure will create three copies of your data disk. Like in this example, it's a disk. What we are creating is a disk. So in case of LRS, Azure will create three copies of your disk in the same data center. You can see it's a data center. Okay. Whereas in zone redundant, like the name says, there will be multiple copies across different zones. So if I go to zone redundant, you can see there is a copy, one copy in each of the three zones. So copy one, copy two, copy three, and they are in three different zones. So, and if you recall, a zone is made up of data centers. So this is ZRS, zone redundant storage. The last one, The geo redundant, because all the zones currently in this diagram, all the zones are within a single region. What if I want redundancy across regions, like more than one region, so that something goes bad or natural disaster happens in one region, at least I have a backup copy in another region. So that's called geo redundant storage. So you have first three copies in the first region, the primary region, and another three copies of your data objects uh, in the storage account in secondary region. Just to recap, LRS, three copies in the same data center. Next one, each one of these three copies will split into a separate AZ, availability zone. That's called zone redundant. And third one, geo redundant. Here we'll have one set of copies, one set of three copies in the primary region and another set of three copies in the secondary region. So that's what it's all about. For now, I'm gonna choose LRS with premium SSD, and I'm keeping it like it will delete when I delete the VM. I don't want additional disk, so I'll keep it blank. Now, this is also an important part to understand the networking, because a machine that we create will always be part of some network, some virtual network. And what's a network? Network basically is a um, like how do you define network? Network is a collection of, I would say, IP addresses, and those IP addresses is something that you need to define. What is the set of IP addresses that will comprise a network for your virtual machine? So you'll click on new virtual network, create new virtual network, and give it some name, and any name of your choice. And it will ask you that what is the address range, and this notation is called CIDR, classless interdomain routing notation. So this is the entire network CIDR. Within a network, it will have subnetworks. So it is asking what is the CIDR of the subnetwork. So here I have specified 10.0.0.0/16 CIDR. Um, and this means how many IP addresses? It means 2 to the power 32 minus 16. 32 minus whatever it is written here. If I would write it like 24, it will become 2 to the power 32 minus 24. That is essentially 2 to the power 8, which is actually 256 IP addresses. So this whole network will get this much. Let me make it back 16. Why 16? Because let's suppose I want a network with 65,000 IP addresses. Out of this 65,000, uh, I'll have a subnet. Let's say my subnet 1 will have 256 with this CIDR range. If you're not familiar with this IP addressing notation, let's go bottom from bottom to up. So right now, what we have on the screen is a virtual configuration. This is the network CIDR range. This is the subnetwork CIDR range. And of course, subnetwork must be the part of the parent network. That means this CIDR range must be part of this CIDR range. And how do we know that? So first of all, you look at the masking. This masking should not be greater than this one. Greater as in like this one has 2 to the power 8 IP addresses, 256 IP addresses. This one has 2 to the power 16 IP addresses. That means 65,000 IP addresses. So this is certainly a child of the parent. And second thing is the actual address range should also be the part of this address range. So that's the key thing. So in this example, slash 24, 10.0.0.0/24 will be how many IP address? 256. What is the beginner starting IP address? It will be like uh, 10.0.0.0, then this will become 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and so on. And it will go on till 255. And that's the maximum a single bit can have, 0 to 255. since it is 0 to 55 makes up 256 addresses. So that's complete. That completes for /24 mask. Is it clear? There is a question from Saurav. How to decide this virtual network that you are deciding in this VM which you creating? I'm facing difficult to understand that is the IP address. Also, please explain me subnet and cider again. And why 10 series, sir? Okay. First of all, there is no uh, strong reason or strong this thing for me to choose this IP address range. You can choose anything that you want. You can pick 10 dot 10 something, or you can pick, let's suppose, 16 dot something. So it's up to you. So a developer usually does not creates this. This comes from the architect, the cloud architect, and architects pick any virtual network. So to keep, and this is actually a virtual network, and it won't um, intercept or like mingle up with other virtual networks from other customers. So you are safe. That's why it's called a virtual network. So you can pick any range of your choice. There is no reason for that. uh, and like this mask again is up to your requirements. You can pick 16, you can pick 18, you can pick 20, or whatever you want. It's up to you. Now, subnet has to be there. So every network must have at least one subnet. So I'll give it a name, subnet 1, and it should have um, a child cider range. Okay, so there is an error here. What the error says? It says this IP address is not part of the parent IP address range. Why? Because this will be 10.0.0.0 from then this will become eventually 255. But all of these are not part of the parent IP address range. Why? Because parent is 10.10, not 10.0. So if I make it 10.0, this will become the correct IP address range. Classless interdomain routing. Okay, shall we go move ahead? I'll click on OK. Yeah, so it's okay now. So it will create a new network, new subnetwork, and also this is the next thing. So this whole network that we created is kind of private, meaning people from outside of Azure cannot access that network or uh, any IP address from this network. But we want to access our machines. How do we access it? So Azure says you can assign one more public IP to your machine, and that public IP won't be part of this network at all. It will be a separate public IP address. What is NIC stands for? NIC stands for a network interface card. NIC is like you must have seen a LAN port on your machines or the Wi-Fi endpoint address. So that's more like a network interface card. So every machine that you create on Azure or any cloud must have an NIC attached to it. Public inbound ports. So public inbound ports, that means which ports on the machine can listen to the public traffic. So I'm saying it should listen on the RDP port and the HTTP and HTTPS ports. Let me select this checkbox. There's nothing important here. It says delete public NIC and NIC when the VM is deleted. Load balancing we'll learn in coming weeks. Management, just to give you a familiarity. So Microsoft Defender is a security plan, and it basically scans your machine and checks for any security misconfigurations if there are any. Uh, a foundational plan comes by default and it's free, but an advanced plan comes at a price. uh, identity. There can be system assigned managed identity. You can pick this. In that case, Azure will create an identity for your machine and assign to it, or you can leave it. It depends. So why in or like in which circumstances you need an identity for your machine is when your machine tries to communicate to other Azure services. Then you definitely need an identity. Okay, let's keep a lot of things as default and click on review. Tags I forgot. I must attach tags. So tags. What was the other tag that we gave to that resource group? It was the project key and az-900 as the value. Yeah, one more thing. Can you see it says 13 resources? That means when we create a virtual machine, a single resource, it's not actually a single resource. To create a virtual machine, Azure needs to create these 13 resources: a network, a machine extension, the machine itself, a storage account, SSH key, a lot of other stuff it creates. Okay, so to all of the resources it is going to create, it will apply the same tag. Uh, this is just for confirmation, and this validation passed gives you a confirmation that things will be going to work and the resource will be deployed fine. You can review your stuff and click on create. Okay, while it is taking like 2 minutes to create, you can feel free to ask me questions. Saurav is asking, what is the use of subnet here? So we created a network, right? Network had 65,000 IP addresses. Now a network must have at least one subnet, and your resource, your virtual machine, will be part of that subnet. A virtual machine can't be part of a network directly. So a network should have subnet, and your machine will be part of the subnet. Similarly, later on you create more machines. Those more machines can be part of the same subnetwork, or you can create another subnetwork. Similarly, if you want to create a database, let's suppose your machine wants to communicate to a database. Your database can also be part of the same subnetwork or another subnetwork. Okay, so subnetwork is essential. Any other questions? Yeah, yeah. Network and subnetwork are like, that's a good analogy from Faz. So looks like the machine has been created. The right word is machine has been deployed. Let's go to the resource to see the configurations. These are the details that we provided while creating the machine. This is the tag. Um, and these are all the configurations, like what operating system, what was the size, what is the public IP address. Uh, like I said to you, the public IP address won't be part of the network or the subnetwork that you defined. This public IP address is like random public IP address given from Azure. And this is why it is called dynamic IP address. Dynamic means every time you shut down and start this machine, this may probably change every time when you restart the machine. But there's no guarantee it will be same. If you want a guaranteed IP address every time you start or stop or change the machine, even if you want to like let me delete the machine and start a new one, but I don't want to lose my public IP address because that public IP address is used in my other applications or endpoints. In that case, you can purchase the public IP from Azure. There is a service IP address. You can purchase it from there. Then it becomes a static public IP. So that's the difference between static public IP versus dynamic. Dynamic means it keeps changing. It's up to Azure's desire. And this is not part of the VNet that we created. So you can see it starts from 98.70 something, but our network had this private IP range 10.10.0.0/16, if you remember. So public IP and private IP address pool is different thing. How we connect to a machine, and why we needed this in the first place, because from my local machine I cannot connect to a private network, not at all. That's why I created a public IP. In the industries, in the real world, when you become a DevOps or cloud engineer, you won't actually create public IPs for your machines. What instead, what you will do, you'll keep this field as blank, no public IP required, and you'll connect using Bastion host. So there is a service from Azure. It's called Bastion host, and it's like a middle machine. So from your local, you log in into the middle machine. From that middle machine, you actually go and log in into your actual server. So that server is always private. It doesn't get a public IP address. Having a public IP address is scary. Okay, now the machine is up and running. Let me copy the public IP address and try to connect from my local. So what is this machine? This is Windows. And how do we connect to Windows? Using remote desktop protocol. So if you are using a Windows machine on your local, you already have RDP installed. Just search for RDP in your search bar, start options. If you're Mac or Linux, you need to install some app. Like I have installed an application. Uh, it's called Microsoft Remote Desktop. I'll click on Add PC, and here I'll mention the public IP address that we just got here, 98.70.120.122. User account and credential, let it ask me when I try to hit connect, and let me connect to this machine. Now it is asking me username and password. If I recall, Azure user, my password. Yeah, let's hit connect. Now it is giving me a warning that we don't trust this machine actually, and that's a fair warning. For now, I'm going to skip this warning. Uh, so I'll hit continue. But this is something you need to understand in detail before you actually become a certified DevOps engineer. What does that actually mean? That this local computer cannot verify the certificate to the connecting host. So it may not be a secure task. So we are connected. It is taking up some time. What is our next objective here once we are logged in inside the machine? To configure the IIS web server. Yeah, it is opening up the server manager. Wait for it to open. This takes time, and that's why people usually take like bigger machines with more CPU and more RAM. So the server manager in the Windows server, like why this appeared here in the server manager? Because we created a Windows server, not just regular Windows, Windows Home or Windows Professional. So Windows Server comes with Windows Server application installed, and you can open it up by typing in Windows Server here. And now we are going to configure this local server. So add roles and features. It is asking me to wait for 2 minutes. Let's try now. Yeah. So I'm trying to configure IIS. So I'll click on next. Role-based or feature-based installation, that's fine. It is asking me to select a local server, like on this machine, a local web server is running. So select that and enable the web server IIS. And it says what features from IIS I want. I pretty much want all the default features. Web server is enabled. Click next. And what additional features I want to install on that web server. I'll go with default. Click next. And let's finish this. Click on install. Now this will take 2-3 minutes to install. In the meantime, you can ask me questions. While this is installing, let me show you. If I copy this IP address and directly go to browser and paste it. When I paste this without any port, that means I'm invoking port 80, which is the default HTTP port. I won't see any applications here. Look at this. This is like revolving, and nothing will appear here. Only after this installation is complete, you will see the Windows IIS web server default page in a moment. So let's wait. Saurav is asking LRS. Okay, so that LRS that I showed you was not for the entire VM. It was only for the hard disk attached to it. So LRS means only the hard disk will be copied. The 3 copies will be made in the uh, same zone, same data center itself, not the VM completely. Because VM itself is made up of hard disk and many other different smaller resources. So only the hard disk will be redundant. So this is complete. Now if I go and look at this page, earlier it was not serving. If I go and serve this, look here. So this is how the default IIS Internet Information Service web server from Microsoft look like. You can click anywhere to to learn more about IIS. It took me to the documentation page. So how does it feel? So we created a Windows machine. We logged into the Windows machine via RDP. We configured the Windows server and started the IIS web server. So that's all we did. I'll take a pause for all of you to take, I mean, to reflect what we did. If you haven't already logged into Scholar Hat, please log in and take a look around. Like, can you access video course, can you access quick notes, can you access hands-on lab? What we did today was we created a resource group, we created a Windows machine, and we went even beyond, and we RDP into the machine. Like, let's see what's there in this lab. So in this create a Windows machine lab, in the Scholar Hat platform, you are creating a machine and RDP into the machine. Okay. So let's say create resource, Windows server, all of that we configured. The size, RDP protocol requires 3389, disk, management, validation pass, RDP file. Yeah. Okay. So this part, let me tell you what it says. It says when you click on connect. So how I connected from a local is I copied the public IP address and straight away use that IP address in my RDP application. But if you are running on Windows, you can click on connect and click on connect, and then uh, when you click on connect, it will show you this card here. Click on RDP file, so it will download a RDP file, and this step makes sense only for Windows users. If you are running Windows locally, you can click on RDP file, it will download a file, and you can use this file to open the RDP application in your Windows machine. It should be simple, like just a few clicks. So you can connect to the machine using RDP. This is how the RDP in Windows actually look like. I'm on a different operating system, so my RDP application is slightly different. But the underlying protocol technology, everything is still the same. So once you're connected, uh, enter your credentials, uh, security warning that also we saw, skip the security warning, and yeah, that's it. But this doesn't tell you how to configure web server, but we went ahead one more step and configured the web server, because only when the web server is configured, you can have your app serving on the desired port, your web application serving on the desired port. Okay, so let's go back to Scholar Hat dashboard, my courses. You'll see it under all courses, or you will see it under free courses. What is dummy DNT? That's some random name. You can give any name of your choice. Let's look at it again. They created a resource group, dummy DNT. A stupid name. Never create something like dummy or something. Always give sensible names, so that when you look at those names later, tomorrow, or any other day, or if your peers are looking at those names, it should make sense. That's all for the today's demo. I definitely want all of you to come prepared next time. Let me also create a Linux server so that we we finish one more lab. So how do I go back? Yeah. So we created up to Windows. Let me create a Linux server. So I'm going to create a Ubuntu server this time, Ubuntu Linux server, and you will enjoy. All right. Let's go back. Create VM, home, virtual machines. Because I no longer want this machine anymore, let me delete this first. And it's a good practice to keep deleting. Otherwise, it takes just one mistake to for the prices to go up, and you will end up paying. And you need to have your credit card attached to the subscription, so you don't have a choice. So let me delete this. Always have this practice to delete the resources that you create as part of the exercises immediately as the exercise is complete. Okay. The moment it deleted, my RDP connection got interrupted. That's why it says there's no more connection. Okay. Let me refresh. Once you click on delete, the status should be turned into deleting. Let me refresh the page. Are you enjoying this session? Or rather, let me ask you, do you want me to jump to AZ104 directly? AZ104 is where? Yeah, this one. So right now we are doing all the AZ900 stuff. This will go on for 2-3 weeks. And then I plan to go to 104. Do you want me to jump to AZ 104 from the next class onwards? Please tell me in the comments. Or write it like yes, go to 104 or don't go to 104. Don't write yes or no. Everybody, please poll your opinion so we know how much time we should devote. Okay, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people say don't go to 104. 4, 5 people say don't go to 104. Okay, right. What is our next step? Next step is to create virtual machine. This time we are going to create an Ubuntu virtual machine. Okay, so click on Azure Virtual Machine. Click the subscription. I only have one choice. Resource group, I'm use the existing one. This time it's going to be quick. Resource group, I'm gonna choose the existing one that we created just few minutes ago. Give it a name. Ubuntu 22 I want to create. Availability zone, you can pick any availability zone in Central India. Central India is made up of 3 zones actually. So it is showing 3 zones. If I pick any other region, let's say East US, let's see how many zones we have. Here also we have 3 zones. Central US. Oh, actually it shows 3 because I can choose up to 3 zones only for redundancy. Anyways, let me move it to the default Central India and no redundancy required. The image I want Ubuntu 22, and this Ubuntu can be installed either in ARM or 64, anything. Last time when we were creating Windows, we observed that Windows can't be installed on ARM, but Ubuntu can be installed on anything. And why you need to choose one over other is based on your use case. For example, I was creating a project. I was working on some project, and that project was creating some applications that are only supported on ARM. In those scenarios, you'll go with ARM. Size, let's go with default 2 CPUs, 4 GB. That's it. That's the minimal I need. However, there is even smaller size available. So if you are practicing at your home, at your free time, don't go with 2 CPUs or 4 GB. Go with 1 CPU and 3.5 GB memory. It's slightly, not slightly cheaper. 2 is fine. This one is less cheaper, looks like. You may wonder why 1 CPU is expensive than 2. When it says 2, you don't get 100% of these 2 CPUs. These guys are smart. They say only you get part of it. The lesser you use, the more you get. It's tricky to explain. Uh, Authentication type. Let's again keep password this time. SSH is like okay. Let me tell you what SSH is. SSH stands for Secure Shell, and SSH protocol works only with Linux or Mac. Because I'm creating a Linux machine, that's why it is offering me SSH option. This option wasn't there for Windows. SSH protocol works on port 22. That's why somewhere down here it will ask me to enable port 22. And how it works, it basically creates a pair of public and a private key. Public key and private key. Okay. Public key, this Azure will automatically put it inside the machine when it creates. And private key, it will give me at the end of this when I click on review and create. So I'll get the private key downloaded on my local, and public key will be inside the machine. And then I can connect from local to machine using this private and public key pair. That's how it works. Uh, but for this demo purpose only, you can keep it simple. Maybe next time I'll show you SSH key. It's simple. Azure user, my password, my password 1234. Inbound ports, because I'm going to connect over an SSH protocol, like from my local terminal I'm planning to connect. So an SSH protocol itself works on port 22. That's why I need 22. And later on, I plan to, install a web server, just like IIS, but not IIS. I'll install rather Apache web server, which will serve on port 80 and 443. That's why I'll enable inbound ports. Disk, I'll keep default. You can see like Linux is easy, right? So it requires only 30 GB of disk, whereas in Windows, the minimum required was 128. OS disk type, premium type. Here comes the LRS, ZRS, and GRS concept. So the disk will be replicated, not the entire machine. Delete with the VM. Key. What is the key? This key is different from SSH key. This key is for encrypting the disk. So encryption, decryption, you must have heard of. Encryption is it kind of encodes the entire data, so nobody can decode the data inside your disk. Only the person who has the key can decode. So that's the encryption key, and it is managed by Azure. That's why platform managed key. There is also an option like a customer can create its own key and use that, and that's called customer managed key. We don't want that. Networking, and this is interesting. Now I'm gonna use the same virtual network I created before. So it is showing me all the existing networks. So Windows Server network in this resource group. Okay, I can't select the other one because that's in a different resource group altogether. In the basic section I already specified I want this resource group. So the virtual network present in this resource group only is relevant for us. So scholar head resource group. So in the scholar head resource group, we have this virtual network that we created before. I shouldn't have given it Windows Server. I should have given it some generic name. This is confusing because I'm going to create a Linux machine in a Windows Server network. So don't get confused with the name. This is just a name. Now subnet, I can choose the same subnet or I can create. Let me click on subnet configurations. Yeah, it is saying only this subnet is available 10.10. Something 24. So let me create another subnet. So click on subnet. Mm, Subnet 2, and this time mm, what was the previous thing? 10 sorry, 10.10.0024. 24 means 0 to 255. Okay, so total 256 IP address. I'll also talk about like why this is 251, because in every subnet, um, 5 IP addresses are reserved. So 256 minus 5 is 251. Only 251 are available for our use. Subnet 2, IP address range. Yeah, this looks good. So this is 10.10.1/0. Earlier it was 10.10.0.0. Okay. So subnet 1 was 0.0. I cannot choose the same subnet range because it is already been taken. That's what it says. This warning says that this has been taken. It overlaps with the existing subnet. So I need to change the range. So if I change 1 /24, how it will look like 10.10.1.0, and only this last bit will change. From 0 it will keep on incrementing until it reaches 255, and this is definitely not conflicting with the existing one. So I'll click OK. So subnet 2 got created. Right, so you can see the difference between two IP addresses. Okay, so now I'm going to create this new machine in the subnet 2. I'll close this. and choose subnet 2, and it will assign a new public IP. Rest all is fine. And let me just quickly review and create in the interest of time. All the validation passed. Click on create. Any questions? Please feel free to ask. It is while it is creating the resources for this Linux machine. The deployment is complete. We can go to the resource, look at the IP address. That's what we want, the public IP address, and you can connect from your local. I'll open my terminal. In your case, you will open PowerShell or Git Bash if you have on your Windows. So I'll write SSH. Azure user was the name that I gave, and this is the IP address. It is asking me, is it a trusted host that I'm trying to connect? I'll say yes. And now it is asking me the password. I entered the password and hopefully it should let me in. Yeah. Look at this. This green prompt here confirms I am inside Ubuntu. So who am I? I'm Azure. This is my current username. What is my present working directory in Linux? It's slash home slash Azure user. What else? Let me confirm that I'm actually inside Ubuntu. You can see the operating system details by looking at OS release description. And what else? We wanted to install something, right? We wanted to install a web server. So what I'm going to install is Apache web server. This is what I'm trying to install. Okay. So the command will be, before I install, let me update the operating system packages. It should take just 2 minutes to update. Things in Linux are pretty easy. They're straightforward. It has been done. Now I will install Apache web server, which is like sudo apt install Apache. Sudo is the super user. Apt is the package manager. Like operating system is made up of packages and many other stuff. So this is a package manager which keeps the package or like update them, delete them, install them, and so on. And this is a new package we are trying to install. It should take a moment. Yeah, it has been installed. Let's see if we can access that. What is the public IP? This one. So if I now try to go and access that public IP, it should give me the web server, Apache default web server. Sounds good. Yeah, you can like change this HTML page by going to this directory and change any of the pages that you want. Like So you can go to the Apache directory and you can change any of the files, and accordingly your web page will change. That's all for the today's demo. Thank you so much. You can ask me questions in the next 5 minutes. Otherwise, this whole today's class is complete. You'll get notification on the when the next class is scheduled. I will be traveling. Uh, so I'll communicate that over email to all of the participants.